Good morning and welcome to the Tuesday, July 18th Board of County Commissioners meeting. We begin each of our meetings with an invocation, and today Commissioner Gonzalez will be leading us in the invocation. If you'd like to join, feel free to stand.
Lord God and Father above, we pray, we ask for your blessing upon this group here today in our great community. We ask for wisdom for us here as we make decisions today, and we just ask and thank you for the blessings, the beauty of the day, your mercy and grace upon us all, and that we make good decisions in your name. Amen.
Commissioner Williams, would you like to lead us in the pledge?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands indivisible.
Item number 3.
Item number 3 is staff emergency items, and there are none.
Item 4.
Item number 4 is changes, postponements, and notice of the next meeting. I do have one change to today's agenda. Item number 6A was withdrawn by Clerk Schleicher, and our next meeting will be Tuesday, August the 1st at 9 a.m.
Okay. You may notice that Commissioner Geithner is not up here with us today. She is representing El Paso County at one of our water districts events, Cherokee Water District. This is an important infrastructure project for the Eastern Plains, certainly the district that she represents. So she is attending that this morning, and she will be joining us for our 1 p.m. land use. So with that, I do need a motion to excuse her before we do the consent calendar.
So moved.
I'll second.
That has been moved and seconded. Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Commissioner Vanderwerf.
Aye.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. That passes 4-0 that Commissioner Geithner is excused. So item number 5.
Madam Chair, if you'll excuse me, I forgot to mention that our next meeting will actually be today at 1:00 p.m. for land use matters. Item number 5 is the consent calendar, inclusive of items 5A through 5F1.
And did you state that the clerk had withdrawn 5A? 6A. Okay, got it. 6A. I didn't turn over the, okay.
Are there any members of the public wishing to speak on any item on the consent calendar? Any online? Okay, hearing none. Any comments or motion?
I'll move to approve items 5A through 5F1.
And I'll second.
That has been moved and seconded. Any other comments from commissioners? Okay, Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Commissioner Vanderwerf.
Aye.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. The consent calendar passes 4-0 with Commissioner Geithner excused. Item 6.
Item number 6 is comments by elected officials and commissioner liaison reports.
I do believe we have one of our countywide elected officials here. And we'll start with you.
Good morning, Commissioners. Mark Flucher, County Assessor. I just wanted to update you on some of our appeal numbers and a little bit about our reappraisal. Total appeals we received were 33,724, which is approximately 12% of the total number of real property parcels we have. Out of that, 16,467 or 48.8% were adjusted. For reference, 52% of the properties appealed in 21 were adjusted, and 55% of the properties appealed in 2019 were adjusted. So we're in line with those prior years. This is not an unusual year. The median decrease per adjusted property appeal was 6.7%. So not 50%, 90%. Total reduction in market value was 1.9 billion or 1.3% of actual value. Second thing I wanted to discuss is we received our preliminary audit results. I can't share those because the report has to be accepted by the State Board of Equalization before I can share that with this board. However, our median sales ratio is in line with what we as an office shot for, approximately 0.96. The acceptable range is 0.95 to 1.05. To interpret it, anything below 1.0 is considered undervalued when compared to time-adjusted sale prices. So the auditor is corroborating our own internal analysis of 0.96. We shot for the lower level to benefit the taxpayer. I know it may not seem that way to them, but that's something we've done every reappraisal since I've been doing it in 2009 when I started reappraising single-family residential. And lastly, I wanted to dispel a few myths. One is that assessors have the authority to cap value increases. We do not. The aforementioned acceptable range of sales ratios, if we go below that 0.95, the state will step in and reappraise our property for us, and they're not going to care about benefiting the taxpayer. So that's one myth. I cannot cap values. If I could have, I would have. I supported a bill that was introduced last January to cap value increases at 10%. That bill went down in committee so that the governor could pursue his legislation at the 11th hour. Another myth is new assessed values are driving up insurance rates. I received my renewal letter from my insurance company last week. They cited the Marshall Fire, supply chain issues, cost of materials, and cost of labor as a reason for my increase. Nowhere did they mention assessed values. That's about it, all I have for you. Are there any questions you have on this year's reappraisal? Okay.
You, Commissioner Van der Werf.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Thanks for talking to us today. I remain very, very concerned about this whole process. I'm glad that we're going through an adjudication process, and I know that we have kept, as good stewards of the taxpayers' money, we've kept controls in place in El Paso County, the 5.5% rule, and then Tabor. But a lot of the other taxing jurisdictions, and in particular school boards, which usually have the highest percentage of taxes, property taxes, many of them have not. But here's my question for you is, I don't have a really good read on, because some of the schools and the school boards, they had already previously implemented other controls where they have some limits, but I don't know which ones have, which ones haven't, and where we're going to all end up. You know, being able to talk to a taxpayer, you know, the county will be good stewards and will return money, but your school district isn't, or this district isn't, or that fire district isn't. How do we get a handle on all of that? Because it's a mishmash of everything.
Right, and school financing is much more complicated than the other types of districts. Motivating them to lower their mill levy may be difficult. I do understand that they should be backfilled by the state for reductions in property taxes, but I also know that almost every district has some sort of bond out there that they have to pay, and I think that District 38 is the only one that hasn't had some sort of detabering measure. And so the other districts are not constrained by Tabor in this instance.
Yeah, and another kind of quick question to that. There's the property assessment that's taken place. That's what citizens are reacting to.
Correct.
But for these school districts that do have some measure of control, what is in the statement that was sent to residents is not necessarily what the school district will collect. So it seems to me like that produces a lot of confusion.
That tax estimate obviously relied on last year's mill levies, and I think it was very misleading. The state required us through a bill last year to put that on there. And I don't know if that was part of the planning process for Proposition HH to scare people with that estimate. It certainly has. But we're missing the entire mill levy part of the equation, the true mill levies, which we're not going to know until December. I've talked to some residents of metro districts where the residents have actually taken over from the developer and control those districts, and they've already decided they're going to lower their mill levies. So hopefully other districts follow suit, and their revenues are still going to increase even with lower mill levies. I can't read the crystal ball to tell you guys what that's going to be, but I hope there's some common sense involved with these boards in deciding what their revenue should be in the coming year.
Yes, thank you.
Commissioner Williams.
Yes, I feel like I've spent a lot of time educating our residents on how to advocate in front of their fire districts, their school districts, or their water districts, any of their special districts, when it comes to the amount of mill levies they'll be charged next year. And it's interesting enough, I've spent so much time doing that, now I'm getting pushback from some of the fire districts and some of the water districts. And the issue is every budgeting authority has to strike a balance, just as in you have to, in your own personal family, strike a balance between paying off your paying off debt, paying off your house, saving for retirement, saving for kids' college education. These same boards are having to consider, for example, a fire district. Do we use the excess to buy 2 more fire trucks, especially if we're in an area that hasn't been mitigated very well? If you're in a water district, do we go ahead and pay down some of this debt and use the money to get that? And I would just ask that as these boards meet and as citizens get the chance to attend, that they try to strike a balance between helping the citizens out and really seeing this sort of as a one-time revenue stream coming in, because we know that it will go down again in the next year or two, or next time you reassess, we are hoping it goes down. Who knows, we could just explode with growth again. But the assumption would be those assessments might come down. And so we'd just ask those who serve on boards, who set these budgets, to try and strike a balance that does help the homeowner. While at the same time also helping their district budget. I know that that's going to be a hard balance because you can't please everybody. And so those are things I would ask that they consider.
And I would certainly agree with that.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So thank you, Mr. Flucher. I appreciate the update. I have been recommending to constituents that they talk to their school districts, because the largest portion of the property tax bill is going to be for school districts. And as you mentioned, probably a majority, if not a vast majority, have some sort of already exemptions to Tabor. So if they're going to get a reduction, the county will be doing reductions to our or credits, however we do it, to our portion of the property tax, because we have those Tabor limits and the 5.5% rule, et cetera. But those school districts may not. Talk to your school districts, your school boards today. Talk to them next month. Talk to them every month until you get an answer. Will they be willing to reduce their mill levies and support our residents? Of course, some of them do have bonds. They've got to make sure that they, properly respond to that. But the hikes that we're getting, every school district needs to reduce their mill levy to some level to help our residents. And I appreciate your highlighting the fact that there's some scare tactics out there at the state level and the governor. Let's go back a couple years ago. Some people foolishly supported a full repeal of Gallagher, and this has gotten us to this. Not that it didn't need to be fixed. There were aspects to it that needed to be fixed, but there was no replacement in place. And because there was no replacement in place, this is what we got. And now the governor is trying to take advantage, using scare tactics of increased property taxes to bait and switch people to giving up their future Tabor refunds, potentially forever, because the current bill form that people will vote on at the end of the year allows exemptions based on data that would allow this to go forever, to give up Tabor taxes. The odd part that I find as well is the fact we're talking about property taxes, but the state and the governor have decided to keep people's state Tabor excess, which has nothing to do with property taxes. So again, a lot of bait and switch by the governor, who just wants to keep everybody's tax dollars. Thank you.
And that's correct. And the reductions in assessment rates under HH are minuscule. they're not going to help anybody. The governor provides statewide numbers, and it looks like a big number. But to the individual homeowner, it's not going to mean much. And what savings a homeowner might have through the proposition, from data I've seen, will be less than what they would normally get on a state Tabor refund. So they're actually giving up a few $100s. Lastly, for renters who aren't going to benefit from a property tax reduction at all, they're going to lose their state Tabor refund. And I think they need to be aware of that as well.
Mr. Flucher, thank you for being here today. I'm grateful that you're in the position you are with the expertise to explain all this. And I'll apologize ahead of time. I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit, and you can just round. You can give me an estimate if you don't know the number off the top of your head. I suspect you might know it though. We've talked about school districts. We've talked about water districts, but overall, there are all kinds of special taxing districts that that any one resident would find listed on their tax bill. Can you tell us how many special taxing districts we have in El Paso County?
Oh boy, I think we have a record in the state. I think we're well over 200, and there's more on the way.
Well, I'm grateful that that our around 5% portion of that is very well managed, but your office manages, making sure that all of those are properly billed, and that's quite the undertaking. And I just appreciate it, and I think it helps that I think it probably helps our residents to understand how many different taxing districts and who has responsibility for which ones, so that they do know how to go and advocate for themselves with certain ones.
Right. And I want to mention the treasurer's office too. We have a great relationship with them to ensure the money's distributed correctly.
Yes, thank you very much. Well said. Okay, any other questions?
Right. Thank you for your time.
Okay, are there any other countywide elected officials online? Okay, we'll start with Commissioner Williams here then.
Yes, we had a wonderful weekend at the fair this weekend. I was not able to attend some of the Sunday events, but on Saturday we did do a ribbon cutting for the new small animal barn and also the VIP reception. And just want to encourage everybody, if they have time this week, to take a day out and go to the county fair. It's always wonderful to be out there to see the young children with their animals presenting and to enjoy the vendor booths and the various events that are scheduled for the stadium. So also, this week, I just wanted to go over my calendar. Last week, we did have our Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments up in Taylor County, which was really interesting. When we go to offsite, we always give the smaller jurisdictions and counties a day to discuss some of the events going on in their community and some of the activities. And it's always fun in the summertime to hear the various summer festivals or county fairs that are going on and events to attend up in the mountains. During that time, we didn't have time to update on transportation activities. Right now, the State Transportation Committee is considering the distribution of various funds. There must be 8 different funds which the state uses to distribute funds. The ones we discussed this past month were the Transportation Alternative Program funds, which is a federal fund and that allows you to apply for trails, some routes to schools, such as a safe route to school, bike paths, those kind of different funds. And this next month, we're going to be discussing one of the more controversial funds. So otherwise, this week, we're attending the National Association of Counties. I'm looking forward to that. I serve on the Transportation Committee at the National Association of Counties. We will be in Austin, Texas. I will be leaving and will be away from Thursday to Monday, and that is my schedule for the week. Thank you.
Commissioner Vanderwerk.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So tomorrow, I will be participating in an online-only State Board of Health meeting. The agenda is actually pretty light, so they decided not to bring people into Denver because some people travel from pretty far corners of the state of Colorado. So it'll be online, and it'll be a fairly light agenda. I also want to mention that I just had a great time at over this weekend. It just seemed like a cowboy, cowgirl rodeo weekend for sure, with both the Pikes Peak or Bust rodeo, and I was there for the finals, for the championship, and that was Saturday night. What a lot of fun! That was really a blast to see all of that. And then the El Paso County Fair was wonderful. I did spend 8 hours at the fair on Sunday. Most of that was spent in judging for the Fair Queen, and I'm happy to report it is public domain. It's posted that Maddie Norton was the winner of the contest for Fair Queen, so she'll be our 2024 Fair Queen, and she just had fantastic equestrian skills. Just really managed the horse really, really well, and it was just amazing. She definitely knows how to ride a horse. Also, looking forward to NACO, which is coming up here, and several of us commissioners will be there. We'll all be pretty busy. We're pursuing some resolutions, hoping to make them national positions for the National Association of Counties. The one that I am in particular pursuing is a resolution asking Congress to reduce its spending to make sure that we don't end up defaulting on the national debt. So hopefully we'll be successful with that. And that is all that I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Gonzalez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Also, greatly enjoyed getting out to the rodeo last week, and the fair events got out there Saturday and Sunday. Lots of great things to do out there. I recommend everybody get out there and enjoy the fun in a summer of fun. Tomorrow, I'll be participating in a rail yard meeting, and then also to the start of the library district meeting tomorrow, and then participating along with others with the NACO National Conference. I will also be sponsoring a policy change, national policy. So looking forward to all the upcoming events and then the conference.
Thank you. Likewise, I have many of those same events in the short time before we all leave for NACO as well. I serve as a vice chair of the Human Services and Education Committee. Lots of resolutions coming out of that group as well. And so I will be departing also on Thursday and back late Monday. I know that Commissioner Geithner is holding down the fort here and participating in fair events, including, I believe, next on Saturday, the livestock auction will be taking place, and we have lots of local 4-Hers that will be showing off their hard work and vying for a trip to the state fair. And so looking forward to seeing and hearing about how that goes. And Commissioner Geithner will be representing the Board of County Commissioners at all kinds of fair events over the next week. Okay. Any other elected official comments? Okay. Item 7.
Item number 7 is community service organization reports, and there are none.
Item number 8.
Item number 8 is public comment on items not scheduled on the agenda. This is the public's opportunity to comment on an item that is not on today's agenda. And Madam Chair, I didn't have anyone sign in prior to the meeting.
Okay. Do we have anyone in the audience wishing to speak on an item not on the agenda? Seeing none. Anyone online? Okay. Item number 9.
Item number 9 is the called up consent calendar, and there are no items called up.
Item 10.
Item number 10 is department and committee reports and non-action items, and there are none.
Item 11.
Item 11 is the addendum, and there is no addendum.
Item 12.
Item number 12 is executive session, and there is no request for an executive session.
We are adjourned.